there, the first few meters, the collegiate men's distance medley championship of America. We saw a great race on the women's side with Sanford taking the victory, and we have 4 of the top 5 teams from the indoor national championships lining up here, and we will introduce them. We have Oklahoma State. They're going to be the favorite. We'll talk more about them in a moment. Ole Miss, Wisconsin, Villanova, Indiana, Michigan, Virginia, Georgetown, Duke, Davidson, Navy, Boston College, and Cornell. This is going to be a hot one.
Yeah, I love the men's DMR, particularly because this first leg always cracks me up because every one of these teams has a 1,200-meter leg that can run with anybody else. So it doesn't matter if you're Oklahoma State, the defending champions, any school. We got Davidson, we got Villanova, all decided to go right to the front and say, hey, I know I can run with you guys. Now, what's really going to develop over the course of this race is, do you have the depth? The 1,200-meter runner, sure. Almost any team can put out a fast 1,200-meter runner. But do you have the 4, do you have the 8, and all importantly, do you have that mile anchor? So keeping in mind, in this race, we are going to have a record lurking in the distance. It has been talked about that it could be possible to see that Penn Relays record and national record set here at Penn by Arkansas, 1989, one of the oldest records on the book, 9:20.10. That could be under threat here, but as we've seen with the men in the Penn Relays at this history of this event, it always is about racing. The time sometimes happens, but it's always about racing. They want to win. And as I say that, Fahad Masoudi of Oklahoma State is going to the front. They are the indoor champions. This is their event indoors, but they did that at altitude in Albuquerque. What can they do in the rain at Penn Relays? But right now, Masoudi going to the front. He took the NCAA lead in the 1,500 at the Brian Clay, 4th fastest 1,500-meter runner of all time. He should feel really good about handing off the baton here in first place.
Oklahoma State is going to figure prominently here. Again, this is the College Men's DMR Championship of America presented by Retail Sites. This is in memory of Bob Hirsch, one-time member of the Penn Relays staff here. Look at Villanova in second. Oklahoma State is definitely going to be the one to beat, but anybody could do it. You mentioned great 1,200 legs. The 1,600, of course, is going to be a battle as we come around, getting ready to hand off to the 400. Once again, it's 1,200, 400, 800, 1,600. And I've said it before, but one of my favorite parts is seeing just the disparity between the speeds of the incoming runner and the outgoing runner. The 400 guys have to not get too antsy. They got to make sure their guy who's coming in from running a 1,200, not just a 400, is ready to go. Look at Villanova and Oklahoma State handing off neck and neck.
That's a 45.9 guy running the 400 for Oklahoma State. Bartholomew almost sounds slow after what we saw with the 45.0 from Bola School yesterday in the 4x4. But Oklahoma State, they set an NCAA collegiate indoor record of 9:16 in February. Generally, you can run a little faster outdoors, so that outdoor record of 9:20 is going to be under threat here. But right now, Virginia mixing it up and going to the lead here with their 400-meter runner. That's Jay Pendarvis.
Yeah, what a move. Still in at Villanova, Oklahoma State. Again, I'll say it every time. You can't really win the DMR on the 400 leg. It's just one lap, but you can certainly lose it or give up some positions. But if you can hand off well here, that matters all the more. Look at Oklahoma State. They will settle in. And no, he'll take the pull. So Oklahoma State wasting no time, wanting to get out in front and stay out of trouble. Our top 3 are still in the mix. Villanova sitting in 3rd, but not out of the woods yet. Oklahoma State out in front, 100 meters into this leg.
That's Mehdi Yanuri. He's run 146.9. He was 3rd at Big 12s in the 800. So this could be a really good run for him. I'm really surprised that Wisconsin and Ole Miss are not in the mix here, both lurking back in the latter places here. Wisconsin starting to move a little bit with their 800-meter runner. That's Abdullahi Hassan. But right now it seems to be a 2-team race up front, as that's Oklahoma State, and I believe that's Gary Martin. Did he switch to the 800-meter leg? Virginia scheduled to run Gary Martin, Jay Pendarvis, Connor Murphy, and Wes Porter. Apologies if I'm misidentifying here, but there's always a little bit of changing, particularly between your 12, 8, 16 runner, just who you're feeling on the day to be your guy in each event. But right now it is Oklahoma State in the lead, chased by Virginia, chased by Villanova. That is Gary Martin.
Gary Martin, yeah.
He won state in Pennsylvania. He's a sub-4 high school miler back when it was still cool. as they have now just popped off at the high school level. But Gary Martin, he knows this track, and he's going to the lead. Oklahoma State has some work to do here. Yanuri does not look comfortable right now, but he's got about 180 meters left on this leg before he hands off to Ryan Schaap.
Villanova in the white mixing it up with those leaders as well.
Wisconsin, I had just said that I was surprised not to see them in the mix, and Abdullahi Hassan must have heard me because he has shot to the front. A great athlete for Wisconsin. They were third indoors, and it's going to come down to the anchor.
Handing off here and settling in. Nobody kicking off too hard. It looks like those front five really are content to settle in. This is always the question mark, and I think you can tell a lot about how a DMR is going to finish by how the mile anchor leg takes the stick, and it tells me that this one is going to be a bit of a jog
I think
fest.
the record has just gone out the window. These guys have decided they don't care about any dang record. They care about the wheel. Villanova seems unhappy to be at the front, but this is allowing a lot of other teams into the mix. Ole Miss has a great miler in Camerari, the Miami transfer from Brecksville, Ohio. He's got some serious wheels at the end of the race. I do not like any team letting him back into the race. And more teams are joining. Keep your eyes on the back of the pack. This is going to open the door for a lot of teams. Schaap is thinking about making a move for Oklahoma State, and I hope he goes soon.
Well, look at that. You start getting into trouble. You get boxed in even when it's slow, and you got to be ready to make a move and react to whatever move is made. But like you said, you look around, you think about the 2-3 guys around you, and you're playing this cat and mouse game. But in the meantime, 2, 4, 6, 8 teams still in it. You let people close the gap and get back in the race.
Well, Schaap's run 3:52. According to my notes, that is the best mile PB in the field. I'd really like to see him go to the front and hammer, get rid of some of these guys who might be able to get him in a kick. Charlie O'Donovan of Villanova's run 3:54. He's got to be feeling really comfortable right now. But because of the way they've run this race, they have just let so many teams back in this race. That's got to be so frustrating as a 12-4-8 runner. You just did so much work to get your team out front, put other teams out of contention, and then it comes down to this where there are 7 teams. This is anybody's wheel right now. Anybody could come home, especially in the mile. Doesn't matter if you run 3:52 or 4:01. Every single one of these guys feels like they can blast that last 200, and we're going to see what they're capable of as Schaap is starting to pick up the pace a little bit, but I don't think enough.
Well, from one type of race in the women's DMR, the domination of Stanford, to another type here, as this is going to be a mad dash for the finish.
Nick Dahl also getting in the mix there for Duke. He's got some pretty good wheels as well. He's an NCAA qualifier in the 1500, but that's the thing right now. You have just introduced so much uncertainty. Every single one of these guys feels like they have the resume to beat everybody else in the last 200, but that's the problem. Only one of them is going to win this race, and guys with the better strength need to attack. Schaap starting to do a little bit of the work for Oklahoma State, starting to widen things out. But everybody else, look at their faces. They are comfortable right now. Maybe they're a little uncomfortable with the rain, but they're comfortable with the pace.
Schaap now starting to push it a little bit. But at the end of the day, it's 4,000 meters. They're going to turn it into a couple of 100-meter race. Oklahoma State, of course, set that indoor collegiate record, winning the national championship as well. The last win for the Cowboys here at the Penn Relays was 1954. They're looking to end that drought.
And here we go into the final lap. Villanova has a history of some great kicks on this track. We saw them win the DMR when Ed Cheserek slowed down the pace. Can they do it again here with Charlie O'Donovan? He's in the perfect position here, tucked in behind Schaap. But Wisconsin, Ole Miss, Georgetown, all in the mix. Duke farther back and more. This is still anybody's race. I think Schaap has done too much of the work here. I think he's going to get in trouble here as Villanova and Ole Miss, once they decide to go, I'm not sure if he can hold on.
If you go to the front, I've said it before, you better be darn sure, and it's coming to 200 meters. He did do a lot of the work. Oklahoma State Schaap. Look at Villanova go.
O'Donovan, Villanova. He has watched that race with Ed Cheserek. He watched Villanova win and the history that it did. But watch Wisconsin. Wisconsin starting to move on the outside. Wisconsin going around into the final stretch. It is Wisconsin. That is Jackson Sharp of Wisconsin, who has thrown on the afterburners, and he's going to upset the field and say, yes, that is one for the Badgers. 9:33, Wisconsin takes the wheel in the men's DMR.
Look at Wisconsin, and we saw that 800-meter leg with a great move. Wisconsin is rewarded with the victory here, 9:33.82. But what matters is that number one next to Wisconsin. as you see them celebrating a well-deserved. Oklahoma State fades to 7th. Big surprise there for the Cowboys. They just didn't assert their dominance early enough, and when you let anybody hang around, then it could be anybody's race.
That's such a tough decision to make when you hand out the baton in the lead. You have to decide, am I going to hammer this from the front, or am I going to let other guys back in the race? You might see one or two guys on your shoulder and know that they should be doing a little bit of work, but doing that lets so many other people back in. Wisconsin, the ones who get to profit off that, and we will send it down to Olivia with the Badgers.
I'm down here with Wisconsin, who just won the distance medley relay, second last year. So what did it mean to come out here with the...
Yeah, it's nice to get some redemption. Last year we stripped up a bit, but it's awesome to get this win, and really proud of that effort. So yeah.
This was an 8-person last leg for you. What was just kind of going through your mind as you're kind of bumping and getting into position?
I was just waiting and waiting for the last straight. It was really packed, and I got a bit worried with 200 to go, but made my move at the end and it paid off.
And I know it's a little bit rainy, but I know you're going to bring some sunshine back to Wisconsin. So what does it mean to be a Penn Relays Carnival champion here?
Yeah, it's awesome. We came to get a wheel, putting up a mix office, and yeah, it's going to be great.
Awesome. Well, congratulations, gentlemen. Back to you.
Thank you.
Congratulations to Wisconsin as they took the victory here in a well-fought battle. You can see it is just such a grouping and such a cacophony of handoffs. It's so crazy as we see Wisconsin, there we go, taking the lead and settling in, content to wait for their moment. They did. They bided their time. They won here in 2019. Before that, 1960. Wow. Last win. Second last year. And third at the NCAA Indoor Championships. But they get a little bit of vindication. As you can see, all 4 members very excited and exuberant for the win.